The cars spread across the lawn here at the Concours Italiano truly tell the DeTomaso story. But perhaps the best recognized model produced by the Modena, Italy-based company is the Pantera, the Panther. Like its predecessor, the Pantera was also a mid-engine street car powered by a small block Ford V8. But in lieu of the Mangusta's center spine chassis, the Pantera utilized a monocoque substructure for added strength. With its potent 351 Cleveland, fully independent suspension, and four-wheel disc brakes, the Pantera was an affordable and reliable exotic. It was sold in the U.S. at Lincoln Mercury dealerships.
What I was trying to achieve on the car, style-wise, is beef up the center of the car. Make it look like that was the important part of the car. Make it almost like the haunches, of a panther trying to leap. When you look at a Pantera, you can always recognize the car because it does have a particular look to it.
Standing out at the Concours was a pristine example of Tom's original design. This early model Pantera sports its distinctive, soon-to-be-outlawed bumperettes.
This Pantera is a 1971 Pantera. It's actually manufactured in 1970, as it's the 116th car that came off the assembly line. Being in the first 150 cars made, the factory was kind of working out the kinks, and it has a bunch of unusual features on it, like the bumperettes and the door handles.
But its rarest feature is the two-spoke Ghia steering wheel, only found on the first few cars.
Being an early car, it had about 25 more horsepower than the production car that got sold through the Lincoln Mercury dealerships. It's rated about 320 to 340 horsepower, somewhere in that range. The car was in pretty rough condition. I bought it off a 23-year-old girl about 10 years ago, and she was driving it as much as possible.
At that point, the car looked great on the outside, but all those years on the road had taken their toll. It was restoration time.
Over 400 hours of body and metal work was done to the car before it was painted. So it was a little rough. We did find some rust, and most of the problems we encountered were from poor body work done previously from fender benders and dings. The interior was originally vinyl, and I found that Steve Wilkinson had a great interior kit, so we went with a complete leather reproduction of the original kit, restitched the dash and everything. I'm very pleased with it. It's one of the most outstanding features of this car. It drives great. It's fabulous. 150 miles an hour, you can drive with your pinky. It's just solid as a rock. It lays down once you get above 100, and it's so comfortable you forget how fast you're going.
Because of his racing heritage, Alejandro DeTomaso understood the importance of competition to further a car's performance and image. The result, the ferocious Group 5 Pantera.
The car we're looking at right now is a 1972 Pantera Group 5 race car. It won many, many races over its lifetime. It held a track record at Zolder for the fastest naturally aspirated car. When I saw this car, I fell in love with it. But unfortunately, you couldn't take it anywhere at that time. So we put this engine back in it, which is a Holman and Moody modified 351 Australian block, which now displaces about 400 cubic inches. The horsepower of this car, detuned, is 529 horsepower. All the coach work of this car was executed by the DeTomaso factory, and they went to the wide body to be able to use these 14-inch wide rear wheels. The wing, which is the most interesting feature, was created by the factory, and it used to be fully adjustable where we could pitch it high or low or whatever we needed, but we've left it in a neutral position for street driving, which it mostly does.
But in addition to prowling the streets, this vintage Pantera races.
2 weeks ago, my wife raced this car at the Tustin Thunder road races, where it raced against Can-Am cars, you name it. They just grouped together a lot of unusual, interesting exhibition cars.
It's an exciting car to drive. I sometimes don't drive it for maybe a month or so. And you get in the car and you put it in first and put your foot down and your head goes back, and it's like, whoa, I forgot how much fun this really was to drive.
So it's the best of both worlds. You can race it and you can still drive it on the street.
Although Ford ceased importing the Pantera in 1974, its popularity continued throughout Europe. Finally, after more than 2 decades, production came to an end in 1995. In the early 70s, DeTomaso entered the luxury car market with the 4-door Deauville and 2-door Longchamp, designed by Tom Charda. They featured his signature use of flat surfaces and crisp edges. Both were fitted with fully independent suspension, four-wheel disc brakes, and the potent 351 Cleveland. Production was very limited, with less than 500 units built. Today, the Deauville and Longchamp are prized rarities. Returning to his roots and his passion for racing, DeTomaso looks toward the 21st century with a mid-engine V8-powered exotic, the Guara.
This particular car behind me weighs 2,480 pounds, 375 horsepower. The engine is a 4.6 Ford Cobra engine from Ford Motor Company, 4-valve, 4-cam. And it's extremely light, almost 1,000 pounds lighter than the old Panteras. It's 10 inches wider and handles beautiful. The turning is unbelievable. Response is fantastic. It's a full active suspension, just like Indy cars. It has fully adjustable Coney shocks, adjustable perches, adjustable valves. Same thing in the rear. The suspension is a Gertrad 6-speed transmission. This particular car here has what they call a 3-gear system on the input shaft, which in turn lowers the engine 3 inches lower to lower the center of gravity of the car to make the car handle better.
Once again, DeTomaso utilizes a racing chassis, employing a high-tech center spine configuration in the Guara.
The center I-beam has been made out of aluminum with a honeycomb reinforcement to give it the rigidity that it needs so it doesn't change and so it holds the suspension the way it should. The whole car, the engine, the transmission, everything is a structural part of the frame. And the outside of the car is made what they call RDT plastic reinforced with Kevlar. All of the controls and everything are BMW M5. The interior is just an interior they picked up and put in the car, which is very nice, very tasteful, and fits the car very nice. And we're going to see a lot of new things on the market here real soon. As example, the one car behind me, the Guara. And we have a new car also coming, which is called the Bigwa. And they're all Ford powered, and the relationship with DeTomaso and Ford has been reestablished. And these cars will be in the United States legal cars.
When Classics returns, we'll look at Renzo Rivolta's Isos.